Ah, the great mystery, right? What she thinks he notices versus what he actually sees. Everyone assumes men are simple, like a light switch, on, off, hungry, tired. But it's messier than that, far more twisted. You see, people underestimate what silence picks up. When he's quiet, he's calculating, watching. Not just the way she looks in the mirror before she walks out, but how she fixes her sleeve after someone cuts her off in traffic, that slight twitch in her jaw when she pretends she's fine. He sees that. He notices things not because he wants to report them, but because he feels them. The small tells, the unscripted glances, the moments between the words. Ah, yes, the moments when no one's clapping. No cameras, no filters, no applause. That's when the real show starts, doesn't it? When she thinks she's alone, untouched by the spotlight. That's when the truth comes dripping out, slow and uninvited, like water through a cracked ceiling. You see, people think attention is paid when you're trying to be seen. But no, the sharpest eyes watch in silence, in the in-between, in the exhale after the performance ends. That's when a man notices. That's when he really sees her. Not when she's strutting down the hallway or flashing smiles in a crowded room. Oh no, that's just the mask, darling. A beautifully polished one maybe, but still a mask. The real theater? It's in how she sits in a chair when she thinks no one is watching. Whether she slouches, curls in, fidgets. The real her shows up when the eyes are gone, when the mirror isn't nearby to remind her of the roles she's supposed to play. It's the way she reacts to something small, like spilling water or dropping her keys. Does she sigh, laugh it off, whisper something to herself, or does she pause, like the world's pressing too hard today? That pause? That's where the story lives. That's what he notices, not because he's nosy, but because he's searching for what's real. We all are, aren't we? Drowning in fakes, craving something raw. Then there's the way she interacts with her own silence. Ever seen someone fight their own thoughts? He has. He watches her stare at the floor, her brow twitch, lips tighten, like she's battling an invisible army inside her head. It doesn't matter what outfit she's wearing in those moments, could be diamonds or dirty sneakers. The war inside her is louder than anything she's dressed in, and believe it or not, he sees that. He may not say it, but he files it away in that quiet vault behind his eyes. And let's talk about kindness. Not the kind she performs for a crowd, not the loud generosity or the shared story about helping someone once, no. It's the soft kind, the one she gives without realizing it. When she picks up a stranger's receipt that flew away in the wind, when she smiles at the janitor without needing a reason, when she gives the last bite to someone else and pretends she wasn't hungry anyway. She thinks it goes unnoticed. Funny, isn't it? That's the stuff that sticks the most. It's not about romance. It's not about falling in love with her. It's about being moved by her. That's different. One selfish, the other unsettling, and yet comforting, like watching a candle flicker in a blackout. You didn't know how much you missed the light until it danced like that in front of you. That's what she becomes in those raw little moments. Light you didn't know you needed. Sometimes he sees her get annoyed with a friend, with a child, with herself, and she tries so hard to mask it, paints over it with a forced chuckle, with a "it's fine" that burns more than it soothes. But oh, that flicker of frustration, that glimpse of the storm beneath, it's honest, and honesty is magnetic. It's rare. That's the thing we've all become experts in pretending. Masters of the show. But she, when she thinks no one's watching, stops pretending. And that's when he starts remembering. Even her sadness has fingerprints. The way her eyes glaze over when a certain song plays. The way she scrolls past something on her phone too quickly, like she's avoiding a ghost. He doesn't need to ask. He sees it. She doesn't need to speak. He listens anyway. There's a kind of beauty in the unnoticed that becomes unforgettable when it finally gets seen. That's the secret no one talks about. You don't need to scream to be remembered. Sometimes all it takes is being real when you think the curtain's closed. Because that's when the sharpest eyes are open, watching, memorizing, wondering how someone so quiet can echo so loudly in the mind long after they've left the room. It's always the small things, isn't it? The stuff no one thinks twice about. The way she adjusts her sleeve when she's nervous. The way her fingers twitch before she speaks. You think nobody notices, but he does. He's not looking for the painted-on perfection, the show she puts on for the world. No. He's watching when the spotlight's off. When the mask slips, just a little. That's when the truth leaks out. She walks into a room and pretends she's not looking for validation, but the way she glances around, the tiny hesitation in her step, it's all there. She wants to feel safe before she dares to shine, and when she does, oh, she thinks it's because she's done everything right. Perfect hair, rehearsed tone, that calculated laugh. But that's not what sticks. That's not what echoes. He notices the break between those things. The breath she takes when she's unsure. The way she talks to herself in her head and forgets her eyes are betraying the conversation. There's something about a woman who listens more than she speaks, who tilts her head slightly when someone's telling a story, not because she's polite, but because she actually cares. It's disarming, it's strange, it's rare. And rare things, they make people nervous. So they hide it, wrap it up, play it down, but he notices. The way she genuinely reacts when someone shares something awful. The flicker of pain that crosses her face when someone talks about loss. That look that says she's been there too. That's not sympathy, that's empathy. A whole different beast. And then there's her laughter. Not the loud public kind meant for attention. No, the quiet one that sneaks out when she forgets herself. The unfiltered giggle that sounds like a secret. That's the one that cuts through noise. That's the one he remembers. Because you can't fake that. You can't rehearse that. It slips past all the armor, and for a second, she's not trying to impress anyone. She's just being. You want to know what else he notices? The strength she doesn't talk about. The kind she hides under layers of self-deprecating jokes and humble shrugs. The way she carries everyone's burdens like grocery bags she refuses to let anyone help with. You see, real strength is quiet. It doesn't need announcements. It shows up in the way she comforts someone else when she's falling apart herself. In the way she shows up even when she doesn't feel like it. And yeah, maybe she cries alone in the shower. Maybe she breaks down in traffic. But she still keeps moving. That's the kind of strength that makes people stare without realizing why. And when she thinks no one's watching, she touches things softly, like the world's fragile. Like it might break if she's too loud. She reads labels, touches fabrics, adjusts crooked picture frames in restaurants. That's the stuff. That's what builds the invisible connection. It's not her makeup, it's not her clothes. It's the way she moves through the world like it means something. Like everything around her matters, even if no one's looking. Especially when no one's looking. Sometimes he watches her choose silence over defense. She lets someone talk over her, someone disrespect her, and she smiles through it, not because she's weak, but because she's measuring, calculating, deciding what's worth breaking the silence for. That kind of self-control? That's not weakness. That's power wrapped in velvet, and it's terrifying. Because you know the moment she finally does speak, it'll matter. And then there are the moments when she's absolutely still, when her body is calm but her eyes are screaming. You can see the thoughts racing, the chaos swirling behind her gaze. Most people miss it. They're too busy talking, but not him. He sees it. He sees the silent wars, the invisible wounds, the 1,000 things she wanted to say but swallowed. That's what sticks. That's what echoes. Because honesty, real honesty, it doesn't need words. And maybe the cruelest part is she has no idea any of this is being noticed. She walks around thinking she's blending in, that she's forgettable. But it's her quiet moments that haunt the loudest. Her stillness that shakes the room. Her vulnerability that hits harder than any speech ever could. That's the irony. She's the one thing trying not to be seen, and yet she's the one thing he can't unsee. They always think it's about perfection, about saying the right thing, doing the right thing, wearing the right face, as if life hands out trophies for performance. But the truth is buried in the chaos. It's not the spotless ones who survive, it's the ones who've danced with destruction and still showed up the next day. The ones with scraped knees, bruised egos, shattered dreams, and still they move. Not because they're fearless, but because they're done pretending they need to be. That's the twist. That's the joke. The world worships the mask, but it's the cracks that make people stare. You ever see someone lose everything and keep smiling? Not because they're happy. No. Because they've seen the worst and they're still here. That's the kind of strength that's not loud. It doesn't post about it, doesn't announce comebacks. It just continues, quietly, like a heartbeat after the gunshot. That's the kind of person no one sees coming. The one who's been through too much to care about applause. The one who walks into fire because they've already burned and know the feeling by name. There's something terrifying about a person who's not afraid to start over, who's lost it all and doesn't flinch anymore. You can't scare someone who's already faced their own darkness. You can't manipulate someone who's already been broken and rebuilt. That's not just resilience, that's liberation. And most people don't understand it. They think it's cold, detached. But it's not. It's clarity. It's freedom from the illusion that you need to be understood to exist. Ever watch someone realize they don't need permission anymore? Watch their eyes when they stop begging to be chosen, when they choose themselves instead. That moment right there, that's the funeral of their old self and the birth of something dangerous. Someone who's not playing by the old rules. Someone who's done waiting for a seat at the table and decides to build their own. Light it on fire and dance around the ashes. They told you to stay quiet, to be polite, to wait your turn, and for a while maybe you did. Sat there, hands folded, smile stitched on, waiting for the universe to call your number. But then you realized the line was rigged, that the numbers don't exist, that the only way out is to stop waiting, to stand up and walk out of the line. And suddenly, everything changes. Suddenly you're not waiting for life to start, you're forcing it to begin. You learn that pain isn't punishment, it's a signal, a loud, screaming, blood-soaked sign that says move. that says this isn't it. And the moment you stop trying to numb it, ignore it, or cover it up with fake smiles and empty distractions, it starts to teach you. Pain isn't the villain, denial is. The real enemy is pretending everything's fine while your soul rots in silence. The moment you listen to your pain, instead of running from it, you become someone else entirely. There's a power in saying enough, not in rage, not in desperation, but in that cold, still whisper that comes when you're done breaking for everyone else's comfort, when you stop apologizing for surviving, when you stop explaining your value to people who only understand currency and suffering. That's not bitterness, that's awareness. That's the shift. When you no longer fear being misunderstood because you've realized most people don't even understand themselves. You begin to see the world differently, not in black and white, not even in color, but in scars. You see the pain behind the laughter, the insecurity behind the arrogance, the stories behind the silence. And it doesn't make you soft, it makes you sharp, not jaded, just awake. You don't waste time proving your worth anymore. You spend it becoming, creating, walking away from anything that dims you, drains you, devours you in silence. And maybe they'll call you crazy, too intense, too much. Let them. That label's a gift, a signal you've broken free from the polite prison they tried to stuff you into. Because in a world addicted to performance, authenticity looks like rebellion, like madness, like magic. And only the brave know how to wear it without flinching. Ever watch people beg for things they're not ready for? It's like watching a child demand a knife. Fascinating, tragic, inevitable. Everyone wants to be chosen, to be blessed, to be remembered, but no one wants the scars that come with it. They pray for the crown, but scream at the weight. They don't see it. They never do. That the fire they cry about is the same one that forges the steel in their spine. That the silence they complain about is the echo of a world waiting for them to speak differently. You don't get destiny without being torn apart by it first. Do you ever sit in a room full of noise and feel like the loudest thing is your doubt? Like everyone's busy screaming their success while you're just trying to breathe under the weight of pretending you're okay? That's where the chosen are made, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, where no one claps, where no one cares, where you meet the rawest version of yourself, the one that's ugly, trembling, angry. And if you survive that room, you don't come out healed. No, you come out transformed. Because pain doesn't vanish. It mutates into hunger, into fuel. People think being chosen feels like fireworks, like validation, like heaven finally smiled on them. But it's quieter than that, more violent. It feels like everything falling apart, so something inside you finally stands up. It's not a hug, it's a push, a shove into the unknown. The kind that leaves you clawing, gasping, screaming. And when it's over, you realize no one's coming to save you. That realization, that's your rebirth. When the rescue never arrives, and you become the rescuer. You want a sign? Look around. It's the way your body aches for change, the way your spirit resists routine like poison, the way your soul whispers more when everyone tells you settle. That's not madness. That's memory. The memory of who you were before the world told you to shrink, before you traded your fire for approval, and now it's back, knocking, demanding to be let in. But here's the twist. Letting it in means letting go of everything that kept you numb. It means burning the bridge that leads back to average. You think people leave you because you're hard to love. They leave because you reflect something they're not ready to see. You remind them of the truth they buried beneath convenience and comfort. And people will always crucify what they don't understand. So let them. Let them call you too deep, too intense, too broken. They're not rejecting you. They're rejecting the parts of themselves you threaten to expose. That's not your burden. That's their blindness. And your gift? It's being able to keep walking, with or without their applause. The ones who make it through this madness don't wear capes. They wear scars, not to show off, but because hiding them would be a lie. They don't scream their victories. They whisper their losses to the wind and let the silence teach them more than success ever could. These are the people who've learned that failure isn't the end, it's the invitation, an invite to rise again without the need to be seen. Because once you've stood alone long enough, you stop performing, you start existing. And there's no power more dangerous than someone who no longer needs a stage to feel. You're not tired because you're weak. You're tired because you've been strong for too long in a world that profits off your exhaustion. You're not crazy for wanting more. You're aware. You're not lost. You're shedding, outgrowing cages disguised as comfort zones, outrunning versions of yourself that were born out of survival, not choice. And every time you feel like breaking, that's not failure knocking, it's freedom reminding you that it still wants you, still believes in you, still waits for you on the other side of enough is enough. They told you to sit still, to play it safe, to wait for your turn. But what if your turn never comes? What if the moment is now and the only thing standing between you and everything you've prayed for is the belief that you need permission? What if the fear isn't a stop sign but a doorway? What if the pain isn't punishment but prophecy? What if the silence isn't absence but the sound of fate sharpening its knife? Everyone's chasing something, running like mice in a maze built by ghosts they can't name. Chasing dreams they don't understand, chasing money they think will heal the holes in their soul, chasing people who wouldn't bleed for them if the world caught fire. They run because they think stillness is weakness. They think if they stop, the truth will catch them, and oh, it will. Because silence speaks louder than any lie they've fed themselves at 2 a.m. when the walls start whispering back. The truth is, we're not afraid of failure. We're afraid of success. We're afraid of what happens if we actually get what we asked for. Because then we'd have to admit we've been lying. We said we were ready, but ready for what? To be seen? To be exposed? To carry the weight of what we prayed for without crumbling under the pressure? They don't tell you that answered prayers are just heavier crosses. They shine, yes, but they crush too. And only the ones who've been broken enough know how to carry them without screaming. They dress it up nice though, success, purpose, glory, but underneath it, it's just blood and doubt and 1,000 sleepless nights stitched together by willpower and caffeine. It's showing up when no one claps. It's building when everything inside you is begging to burn it all down. It's laughing through the tears and making peace with the fact that your healing will never be linear, that your growth will confuse people. Your elevation will look like ego to those still crawling. People think clarity comes in the light, but no, it comes in the dark, in the pit. When you've lost so much you start hearing your own heartbeat for the first time. That's when it clicks, that the thing you've been running from is the only thing that can save you. that your pain isn't random, it's precise, like a scalpel, carving out the parts of you that were never real to begin with, the parts they taught you to wear so you'd fit into rooms too small for your... You ever notice how the loudest people are the emptiest? Always shouting, always performing, always proving. Because silence terrifies them. Because if they're quiet for too long, the mask slips. And then what? Then they'd have to face the mirror that doesn't care about their followers or their filters. Just the raw, cracked version of them they've been hiding under layers of designer delusion. But there are those rare few, who walk differently. You feel them before they speak, not because they're loud, but because they're full of fire, full of scars, full of a kind of rage that doesn't destroy but builds. They're the ones who've danced with demons and didn't flinch, the ones who've lost everything and still chose to love, not because they forgot the pain, but because they decided it wouldn't define them, because somewhere in the ashes, they found a version of themselves no one could take away. And here's the funny part, everyone wants to be that. Until it's time to bleed, until it's time to be misunderstood, until it's time to walk alone. They want the crown, but not the crucifixion. They want the fire, but not the furnace. They want the power, but not the price. And so they quit, not because they couldn't win, but because they realized winning meant becoming someone else, someone they weren't brave enough to meet. But you've felt it, haven't you? That itch beneath the surface, that voice that says more, even when everything around you screams enough, that pressure in your chest that tightens every time you play small, every time you laugh at things that aren't funny, every time you shrink yourself to be palatable. That's not anxiety. That's your soul staging a rebellion. That's your truth banging on the walls of your self-imposed prison, begging to be let out. And let's be honest, you're tired, not just physically, spiritually. Tired of pretending, tired of trying to be normal when everything about you was built to disrupt. Tired of hiding your light because it burns too bright for the cowards around you. But here's the deal, you either dim it and die slowly, or you let it explode and blind everything that tried to bury you. Because the ones who changed the world aren't the ones who waited for permission. They're the ones who got sick of waiting and decided to burn the rule book with their bare hand. So go ahead, tear it down, whatever it is, the identity they gave you, the expectations they chained you to, the story they wrote without your consent. Rip it to shreds and start over, not because you're broken, but because you were never meant to fit inside a system built to control you. You weren't made to survive. You were made to revolt.